Welcome back to Z Coins. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coin stories from American numismatics, the mysterious and highly collectible 1972 D Mint Mark Kennedy half dollar. While millions of half dollars poured out of the Denver Mint that year, only a very small number possessed the unique traits that pushed them into the realm of serious money. And today, we're going to explore exactly why collectors hunt for these coins, what makes certain examples valuable, and how one rare specimen shocked the coin world by reaching a jaw-dropping price of $52,250. This is not simply a video about a coin. It's a video about history, minting quirks, rarity, and the thrill of discovering something hiding in plain sight. So let's begin a journey into American history. The early 1970s were an era of change for the United States. Vietnam, politics, technology, and culture were shifting rapidly. Yet in the world of coins, something significant had already happened a decade earlier: the introduction of the Kennedy half dollar in 1964. It was created as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy shortly after his assassination, and instantly became a symbol of national unity, remembrance, and optimism for a brighter future. Fast forward to 1972, and the Kennedy half dollar had settled into its role as a circulating coin, though many Americans were already hoarding them as keepsakes. At the Denver Mint that year, over 200 million half dollars were produced. With numbers like that, you'd assume the 1972 D half dollar would be common, and for the most part, you'd be right. But as every seasoned collector knows, sometimes a coin is not valuable because of how many were made, but because of how few survived in exceptional condition, or because of rare mistakes, minting anomalies, or unusual appearances created during production. And that's where the story becomes interesting. The Denver Mint in 1972, a coin factory at full speed by the early 1970s. The Denver Mint was a busy machine. It produced enormous quantities of coins to keep up with the nation's economic demand. Workers operated high-speed presses, fed sheets of metal, inspected blanks, and released millions of shiny, freshly struck coins into circulation. However, when production is this intense, the smallest deviation in die preparation, alignment, or metal quality can lead to unexpected variations. And coin collectors love unexpected variations. For the 1972 D Kennedy half dollar, several minor varieties exist, including slight differences in strike quality, subtle doubling, and coins that show worn dies. These varieties are interesting, but they usually don't bring massive premiums. What collectors really chase, and what truly raises values, is condition and rarity together. Why condition is everything? Most 1972 D half dollars entered circulation immediately. They jingled in pockets, scraped against other coins and cash registers, and lost their original shine within weeks. That means the overwhelming majority of these coins today show obvious wear, but a small fraction, a tiny fraction, were never spent. Maybe they were placed into a drawer. Maybe someone saved them in a roll. Maybe they ended up in a forgotten collection. Whatever the reason, these preserved pieces survived in spectacular condition. When grading services like PCGS or NGC examine a Kennedy half dollar, they're looking for the smallest marks, imperfections, and surface quality. To achieve the highest mint state grades, especially grades like MS66, MS67, or higher, a coin must be nearly flawless to the naked eye and stunning even under magnification. For the 1972 D half dollar, high-end grades are incredibly rare. And when a coin is both rare and visually exceptional, collectors fight fiercely for it. What makes 1972 D half dollars valuable today? A typical circulated 1972 D half dollar might only be worth its face value, 50 cents. Even a slightly above average example may only sell for a few dollars. But once you enter the world of certified, high-grade, mint-state coins, the value skyrockets. Here are some of the factors that drive value. 1. Mint-state quality coins graded MS65 and higher show brilliant surfaces, sharp details, and little to no contact marks. The higher the grade, the more dramatic the jump in value. 2. Exceptional luster coins with glowing, booming luster stand out and attract more collector attention. 3. Strike quality. A well-struck Kennedy half dollar shows crisp hair details, a strong profile of Kennedy, and sharp lettering. Point 4. Population rarity. How many exist in high grades? For the 1972 D half dollar, extremely few have earned the highest labels. Point 5. Registry sets. Some collectors build registry sets, competing to own the finest graded example of every year, every mint mark. When one of these collectors sees a top population coin appear at auction, they go all in. And that is exactly how a seemingly ordinary modern-era half-dollar can suddenly leap into the realm of 4- and even 5-figure selling prices. The legendary high-grade 1972 D half-dollar in the world of numismatics, one example of the 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar, stands above the rest. It was found in genuinely breathtaking condition, so clean, so perfectly struck, and so visually stunning that professional graders awarded it one of the highest, if not the highest, known grades for that year and mint mark. Collectors immediately recognized how special this coin was. Word spread quickly. It had all the traits that separate a merely nice coin from a truly elite and investment-grade rarity. When the auction hammer finally fell, the final selling price became a moment of shock and excitement across the collecting community. Most people would look at a 1972 D half-dollar and see only loose change. But experts saw perfection, and perfection is always valuable. This single standout coin ultimately reached a remarkable sale price that cemented its place in numismatic history. And that brings us to the part everyone wants to know. What is the most valuable 1972 D half-dollar worth? It is time to reveal the number, the extraordinary figure achieved by one of the finest known examples of this coin. This wasn't a guess, a rumor, or a theoretical estimate. This was a real, documented sale that shocked collectors and proved that even modern-era coins can bring enormous payouts when they are rare enough in high condition. Point 1. Superb, top-graded 1972 D mint mark Kennedy half-dollar sold for $52,250. That price wasn't random. It reflected a perfect storm of rarity, eye appeal, competitive bidding, and the prestige that comes with owning the finest example of a popular American coin. To collectors, owning such a coin is like owning a piece of excellence, something almost no one else will ever have. How you can search for valuable 1972 D half-dollars, you might be wondering. Could one of these be hiding in my home? The answer is yes. It's always possible. Here's what to look for if you want to search your own coins. 1. Condition. First, you need a coin that appears nearly flawless. No scratches, no dull spots, no wear. Point 2. Sharp details. Look closely at Kennedy's hair, the text, and the eagle on the reverse. A weak strike drops value significantly. Point 3. Brilliant luster. The shinier and more vibrant the surfaces, the better. Point 4. Have it professionally graded. If you believe your coin might reach high mint state levels, send it to PCGS or NGC for certification. Raw coins rarely reach high value without professional grading. Most coins won't reach the highest levels, but even lower mint state grades can be worth more than face value. Why coins like this captivate collectors? Part of the magic of coin collecting is the thrill of discovery. Anyone, anywhere, at any time can check a box of old coins and find something unexpected. A small detail, a pristine surface, or a rare variety might transform an ordinary object into something extraordinary. A 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar is a perfect symbol of that magic. It reminds us that value isn't always obvious at first glance. Sometimes, it takes a trained eye, a little curiosity, and a lot of passion to uncover hidden treasure, and sometimes, that treasure turns out to be worth a staggering amount. Closing thoughts. The story of the 1972 D mint mark half-dollar teaches us 3 important lessons. Even the most common-looking coins can hide incredible rarity. Condition and preservation matter more than most people realize. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and those surprises can be extremely valuable. We're diving deep into the history, the design, the mistakes, the mint marks, and the true market worth of this iconic piece of American coinage. And make sure you stay with me until the end, because we'll uncover the one jaw-dropping price that collectors can hardly believe, a record amount that has stunned the coin collecting community. To understand why the 1971 half-dollar holds such mystery and monetary potential, we need to go back to the origin of the coin itself. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The American public embraced the design immediately. Demand was so high that people hoarded them, saved them, and kept them as tributes. For years, the coin didn't circulate widely because nearly everyone wanted to preserve a piece of history. By the time 1971 arrived, the composition of United States coinage had already changed. Silver was removed from circulating dimes and quarters in 1965, replaced with a copper-nickel-clad combination. The half-dollar still clung to 40% silver between 1965 and 1970. But in 1971, everything changed again. For the first time, the half-dollar would be minted without any silver content at all in its circulating version. This shift created an important dividing line. Pre-1971 half-dollars contained silver, while the 1971 onward versions did not. Because of this, many collectors initially believed that none of the 1971 coins could possibly be valuable. After all, no silver, no rarity, no special issues. What could be worth more than face value? But that assumption turned out to be very, very wrong. Let's talk about the mint marks. In 1971, half-dollars were struck at two major locations, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Philadelphia coins carried no mint mark, while Denver coins featured the small, distinctive, DE mark. The San Francisco Mint also produced proof coins for collectors only, using highly polished dies and special planchets, creating a mirror-like finish. These proof coins bore an S mint mark. Normally, collectors expect the proof coins to be the most valuable. But the 1971 half-dollar breaks that pattern in a fascinating way. While the proofs have value, the true treasure lies in the unexpected: coins struck on the wrong planchet, coins with minting errors, coins struck with leftover silver planchets, and coins that slipped past quality control unnoticed. These rare mistakes transformed an ordinary coin into a valuable collectible. The most famous error connected to the 1971 half-dollar is the accidental striking of some coins on 40% silver planchets. How did this happen? Well, during the transition year from the silver-bearing 1970 half-dollar to the non-silver 1971 half-dollar, a few leftover planchets were mistakenly fed into the presses. These silver planchets should have been removed, melted, or accounted for, but somehow they made their way into circulation. Only a handful of these error coins are known to exist, which makes them incredibly desirable today. But that's not the end of the story. Some 1971 half-dollars also appear with dramatic striking errors, off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and missing layers. Each error adds a layer of rarity and increases the excitement for collectors. The 1971 half-dollar became a playground of unexpected variations, each one more intriguing than the last. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin, another crucial factor in determining value. When collectors evaluate a coin, they use a grading system ranging from poor to mint state. Mint state grades begin at MS60 and go all the way up to MS70, with MS70 representing a perfect, spotless, untouched coin. Very few coins ever achieve that level of perfection, especially circulating ones. Most 1971 half-dollars circulated widely and picked up scratches, nicks, wear, and handling marks. That means truly pristine versions that survived in flawless condition are extremely rare. A 1971 half-dollar in average circulated condition might be worth only a small premium over face value. But when a flawless example, especially a Denver mint-marked version, shows up at auction in a high grade such as MS67 or MS68, collectors pay attention. The demand for top-quality coins in the registry-set collecting community drives prices far higher than anyone expects. And when you combine high grade with a rare error, such as a silver planchet or a dramatic double die, the value skyrockets. Let's paint a picture for a moment. Imagine an ordinary person sorting through an old coin jar in their attic. They're expecting to find a few quarters, maybe some pennies, maybe even a wheat cent or two. Instead, they come across a shiny 1971 half-dollar with a Denver mint mark and incredible luster. They take it to an expert who sends it in for grading. When the results come back, the coin is graded at an extremely high mint state level. Suddenly, that simple attic discovery becomes something extraordinary, a coin that collectors around the world might compete for at an auction. And speaking of auctions, this is where things get truly exciting. Over the last decade, collectors have witnessed some incredible auction results for the 1971 half-dollar. The rarest of the rare have sold for thousands, with era coins drawing shock and amazement from numismatic experts. In a collecting world where rarity meets unexpected historical significance, the 1971 half-dollar has carved a place for itself that no one could have predicted back when it first entered circulation. Now let's dive into the moment you've been waiting for, the astonishing top price paid for a rare 1971 half-dollar. This record was not set by an ordinary coin. It wasn't a simple proof, or a standard uncirculated piece, or even a nicely preserved example. Instead, it was an extraordinary rarity, a coin struck on a leftover silver planchet, a mistake that should never have occurred. These era coins are nearly mythological, only a tiny number exist, and collectors crave them with an intensity usually reserved for historically famous coins. When one of these rare silver planchet 1971 half-dollars appeared at a major coin auction, experts knew it would attract serious attention. Graded at an exceptionally high level, preserved with remarkable quality, and authenticated beyond any doubt, this coin became the star of the show. The bidding escalated quickly, first hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands. Hands rose, paddles lifted, excitement filled the room. The price soared higher and higher until finally the hammer fell on a number that stunned everyone present. We are diving deep into the world of these fascinating coins that many people still walk past without realizing the treasure resting right inside their pockets, drawers, jars, and old family boxes. Imagine holding a coin that looks so ordinary yet could be worth a staggering amount, enough to shock collectors and change the way you look at loose change forever. To understand why the 1974 half-dollar carries so much mystery, we first need to travel back in time to the early 1970s. America was coming out of a decade filled with change, conflict, innovation, and cultural transformation. The United States Mint was working hard to keep up with demand as coin collecting was rising in popularity. Every year, millions of coins were struck, including the Kennedy half-dollars, which were created in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his assassination. These coins quickly became symbols of national pride and remembrance, and because of that, interest in them continued to grow. By 1974, the United States Mint was producing the Kennedy half-dollar at 3 major facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint added its own small mark on the coin, indicating where it was created. These marks, small letters stamped onto the coin, seem insignificant to the untrained eye, but to collectors, they tell a story. Philadelphia struck coins with no mint mark, Denver used the letter D, and San Francisco created the S-marked pieces, often in special collector-quality proof strikes. While most 1974 Kennedy half-dollars are common, something extraordinary happened during their production that turned a few rare pieces into some of the most valuable coins ever found. Some coins struck at the mint displayed unexpected variations, tiny differences that became enormously important. These variations include doubled letters, unusual minting impressions, stronger strikes, and other subtle anomalies that coin specialists refer to as errors or varieties. In the world of coin collecting, these slight irregularities can dramatically increase value. Collectors began looking more closely at the 1974 half-dollar, especially after unusual discoveries sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. For example, one of the most famous stories involved a rare 1974 double-die obverse coin found in change. Under magnification, several letters on the coin's front side showed doubling, giving the appearance of shadow-like outlines around the lettering. These double-die coins were incredibly rare, and because rarity drives value, it didn't take long before these pieces became the focus of intense attention. But perhaps the biggest twist in the story involves something even more shocking. As collectors and experts examined more and more 1974 half-dollars, they noticed that certain coins, especially those with pristine condition, nearly flawless surfaces, or unusual die impressions, started selling for unusually high amounts at auctions. These were the coins that were struck sharply, preserved perfectly, or created under circumstances that made them different from the typical pieces released into circulation. Collectors began submitting these coins to grading services such as PCGS and NGC, which evaluate coins on a 70-point scale. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. A common 1974 half-dollar in circulated condition might only be worth its face value, but a coin with a high grade, brilliant luster, and strong strike has the potential to rise into the realm of high-value collectibles. As stories spread about these high-value finds, treasure hunters, collectors, and even everyday people began checking their own coins. People who had jars full of 1970s change suddenly searched through them with a sense of curiosity, hoping they might uncover a small fortune hiding among their coins. Search videos, coin roll hunting channels, and numismatic communities online exploded with excitement. And with good reason, because as history shows, certain 1974 half-dollars became some of the most coveted modern coins ever discovered. But let's dig deeper into the details that make these mint-marked 1974 half-dollars so special. First, consider the Philadelphia coins. These have no mint mark, and while most are common, the rare double-die variety, as well as exceptionally high-grade examples, have been known to command impressive prices. The Denver Mint, marked with AD, also produced millions of half-dollars, but certain coins struck with unusually crisp detail, or those with unexpected die characteristics, became standout candidates for collectors. Meanwhile, San Francisco coins, marked with an S, were produced for proof sets, highly polished, mirror-like coins made specifically for collectors. These proof coins often come with sharp details and striking beauty, making them valuable in pristine condition. Now, one of the most thrilling parts about the 1974 half-dollar is that its value isn't only tied to rare minting errors. Condition plays a huge role. A coin that has never been used, handled, or scratched, a coin that still shines the way it did the moment it left the minting press, can be worth dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of times more than the same coin that has circulated in pockets for years. Most people don't realize how dramatically condition affects value. A tiny scratch, a fingerprint, or a small dull patch can reduce the grade significantly. That's why collectors often store their best coins in protective cases or sealed holders, preserving them for decades. The thrill of searching for one of these special mint-marked 1974 half-dollars comes from the idea that a rare treasure could be hiding in plain sight. And truly it has happened before. A coin that someone found in ordinary change ended up selling for a breathtaking amount. Stories like this fuel hope, curiosity, and excitement for both beginners and expert collectors. The United States 1974 half-dollar continues to attract attention today because of these real-life discoveries. Imagine opening an old coin jar, sifting through decades of change, and spotting a 1974 half-dollar with a mint mark, maybe a Denver D or a San Francisco S. You take a closer look. The coin appears nearly flawless. The surface is bright, the details are sharp, the lettering stands out crisply, and the fields, or flat areas, shine like a mirror. Now imagine submitting that coin for grading and learning that it earned one of the top grades possible. Suddenly, what was once a regular piece of change becomes a valuable collectible. The excitement of that possibility is what makes coin collecting such a fascinating hobby. And this brings us to the heart of today's discussion, the extraordinary, record-breaking value achieved by one particular 1974 mint-marked half-dollar. Its surface was immaculate. Its details were razor-sharp. Every tiny element of the coin was expertly preserved. It wasn't just rare, it was nearly perfect. Collectors competed fiercely for the chance to own it, bidding higher and higher until the final price stunned everyone watching. This incredible moment cemented the 1974 half-dollar as one of the modern coins worth paying attention to. It reminded collectors everywhere that even coins from the 1970s, coins still found in circulation today, can possess astonishing value when preserved in exceptional condition or contain unique minting traits. The story of the 1974 half-dollar is not just about coin collecting, it is about discovery, history, and the thrill of uncovering something remarkable where you least expect it. So if you have $50 tucked away, especially from the early 1970s, now is the perfect time to take a closer look. Check for mint marks. Examine the condition. Look for strange doubling, unusual impressions, and sharp details. You never know what treasure might be waiting. A simple coin might hold a story worth telling, and a value worth far, far more than 50 cents. We're diving deep, really deep, into the fascinating world of American coinage. And not just any coin, we're talking about a coin from the late 1970s that hides one of the biggest surprises in modern U.S. minting history. A coin so common that millions of Americans handled it without ever suspecting that, in the right form, it could one day be worth a small fortune. I'm talking about the 1977 D Mint Mark Kennedy $50, a coin that seems ordinary on the surface, yet carries stories of American history, minting evolution, collector demand, and of course, big-time value in the numismatic market today. So sit back, turn up the volume, because this is not just another coin explanation. This is a full journey, an unfolding mystery, about how a piece of pocket change could turn into a collector's dream. And by the end of this video, you might just find yourself checking every $50 in your house. Let's begin. A look back at America in 1977 to understand the significance of the 1977 D $50. We first need to step back into the year it was minted. America in 1977 was buzzing with cultural change and historical milestones. Jimmy Carter had just taken office as president. The energy crisis lingered in the minds of Americans. Star Wars exploded into theaters and forever transformed cinema. The economy was shifting, technology was accelerating, and the U.S. Mint was adapting to a rapidly changing financial landscape. Silver coins were long gone from everyday circulation by 1977. To the new generation of Americans growing up in the 70s, the idea of silver dimes and quarters felt like a story from grandparents, not something they themselves had ever seen in pocket change. And yet, the Kennedy $50, introduced only 13 years earlier, still maintained its place as a symbol of national mourning and national pride. Although $50 were no longer widely used in commerce, they continued to be minted. Partly out of tradition. Partly because collectors demanded them. And partly because the United States Mint wanted to keep the Kennedy series alive, stable, and circulating, even if barely. Into this world rolled the 1977 D $50. The 1977 D Mint Mark. What makes it special? The Denver Mint struck tens of millions of $50 in 1977. On the surface, nothing stood out. The composition was the standard copper-nickel clad formula introduced in 1971. No silver. No special edition. No commemorative features. And yet collectors today talk about this coin constantly. Why? Because although the typical 1977 D $50 is extremely common, a small number of them were struck so perfectly, so sharply, so absolutely pristinely, that today they rank among the finest modern coins ever produced. And those coins, the amazingly well-preserved survivors, are where the incredible values start to appear. Coin collectors value grades, those tiny differences in strike quality and condition. And with the 1977 D $50, the highest graded examples shocked the numismatic world. Even the slightest improvement in surface quality, luster, or strike detail can shift a coin from being worth pocket change to being worth life-changing money. The story behind the DSIG and the Kennedy $50 carries emotional weight like no other modern U.S. coin. Designed as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy shortly after his assassination in 1963, the coin was rushed into production in 1964 to honor the fallen leader. By 1977, the design had become iconic. The obverse featured Gilroy Roberts' portrait of JFK, youthful, forward-looking, symbolizing hope and modern leadership. The reverse showcased Frank Gasparo's bold eagle, clutching olive branches and arrows, mirroring the presidential seal. Collectors especially value strong strikes in the Kennedy series. The Denver Mint often produced robust, clean impressions, but quality varied year to year. In 1977, a small percentage of these coins received nearly flawless pressure, detail, and finish, far beyond the typical circulation strike. These coins, exceptionally preserved, are the ones that can command astonishing prices today. Types of 1977 $half collectors look for. Although most 1977 $half are worth little more than face value, experienced collectors focus on several key traits when evaluating value. 1. Mint state condition. The highest grade coins come straight from mint sets or early storage, never circulated, never handled improperly. A typical uncirculated coin might grade MS60 to MS63. But the true rarities are the MS66, MS67, and especially MS68 coins. These top grades are extremely scarce. 2. Luster and eye appeal. Collectors look for coins with strong cartwheel luster, full brilliance, and no dull patches. Eye appeal can dramatically affect value. 3. Strike quality. Some coins exhibit sharper than normal details. JFK's hair strands, the eagle's feathers, the lettering, these details matter. 4. Clean surfaces. With modern clad coins, small nicks or abrasions are nearly impossible to avoid. So coins with almost no visible contact marks are treasures. 5. Errors and varieties. While 1977 isn't known for major half-dollar errors, even minor ones, such as clipped planchets, off-center strikes, or die cracks, can attract specialty collectors. Why is this coin so valuable in high grades? Think of it this way: millions of coins were made, millions went into circulation, but almost none stayed perfect. Most were tossed into change jars, bank rolls, vending machines, pockets, drawers, and cash registers. Their surfaces suffered tiny scratches, dulling, fingerprints, and general wear. That means the few that remained absolutely pristine are now rarer than anyone expected. Modern coins in extremely high grade become incredibly valuable because they are so tough to find, tougher than older silver coins in many cases. And that brings us to the big moment: the record-breaking value. Among all the 1977 $half ever found, only a select handful have achieved exceptional grading levels. One such coin reached a value that stunned even seasoned collectors. A top-graded 1977 Kennedy $half sold for an extraordinary $34,250. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that originally cost 50 cents, later sold for $34,250. And this sale wasn't a random fluke. It happened because collectors recognized how unbelievably rare such a flawless example is. Modern coins, when found in these absolute top-tier grades, command massive premiums, sometimes even outperforming older coins made of precious metal. What makes this so exciting for everyday people? It means that hidden treasures still exist. You could check a coin jar, you could open an old mint set, you could inherit a small collection from a relative, and inside could be a coin that no one ever realized was special. The 1977 $half is a perfect example of how even common coins can become rare and valuable under the right conditions. Collectors today actively search for untouched mint sets from the 1970s, bank-wrapped rolls that were never opened, high-quality coins stored in airtight containers, pristine examples kept as souvenirs decades ago. Any of these could hide a gem that grades much higher than average. How to know if your 1977 $half is valuable? You don't need professional equipment to start, just a few simple steps. 1. Examine it under good lighting. Look for bright, smooth luster and minimal marks. 2. Check for scratches, dents, and dull areas. These instantly lower the grade. 3. Look closely at the highest points of the coin. Kennedy's cheek and jawline show where first. 4. Hold it at different angles. A strong cartwheel effect often indicates a well-preserved coin. 5. Compare it to certified high-grade examples online. This helps you quickly see if your coin stands out. If your coin still looks like it just left the mint, then it's worth showing to a professional grading service. The numismatic lesson of the 1977 $half. This coin teaches us something powerful about collecting. Value isn't always about age. Value isn't always about silver or gold. Value isn't always about rarity in the total number minted. Value often comes from condition, pure, pristine, untouched condition. The few 1977 $half that survived in unbelievable perfection now stand as modern legends. They prove that treasures still hide in ordinary places. They remind collectors that every coin has a story waiting to be uncovered, and they symbolize something bigger. The entire history of American coinage is full of overlooked gems, surprises, and opportunities. Final THOUGHTS. So next time you come across a Kennedy $50, whether it's from pocket change, a family collection, or an old mint set, don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's worthless because it's modern or because it doesn't contain silver. We're taking a deep dive into this often overlooked coin, its origin, its design, rare varieties, and why certain examples sell for enormous sums at auction. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for in your own change, your inherited collections, or that old dusty jar sitting on a shelf. And yes, we will reveal the exact $50 that sold for the astonishing amount, written in words, at the very end. The year 1980 sits in an interesting chapter of American coin production. The Kennedy $50 had already been circulating for more than 15 years, and while its silver content had long since disappeared, the coin remained a sentimental favorite. Even though $50 were being used less and less in everyday transactions, the U.S. Mint continued to produce them for collectors, banks, and anyone who still appreciated the legacy of John F. Kennedy. The Denver Mint, known for its high speed, high volume production capacity, millions of these coins were struck. Each bears the Bull D Mint mark on the obverse, nestled just above the date. For most people, these coins blend into the background of the late 20th century, common, modern, unremarkable. But collectors know better. Because within the river of 1980 $50 lies a handful of near-perfect specimens, coins so pristine and so well struck that they have crossed from everyday pocket money into the elite category of high-value numismatic treasures. To understand why, we have to start with how grading affects coin value. The Kennedy $50 is a large, detailed coin, full of sharp edges, delicate hair strands, and subtle contours that reveal how well the dies performed. When a $50 leaves the press, it immediately begins its journey through chutes, bins, machines, and transportation systems that can cause tiny marks known as contact abrasions. Most coins suffer these tiny wounds before they even reach the public. That's why finding a flawless or near-flawless example is astonishingly rare, especially for a coin produced in such massive quantities. Professional grading companies use a scale known as the Sheldon scale, ranging from 1 to 70. A grade of 70 means the coin is absolutely perfect under magnification. No scratches, no nicks, no scuffs, no discoloration. Very few coins, especially circulating ones, ever achieve such a grade. For modern U.S. coins like the 1980 $50, the jump in value between a grade of 66 and a grade of 68, or between a 68 and 69, can be enormous. It's a reminder that rarity isn't only about how many coins exist, but how many exist in exceptional condition, and that brings us to the heart of the story. While the majority of 1980 $50 are worth 50 cents, maybe a few dollars in higher circulated condition, the top-end examples, those graded at the highest levels, command jaw-dropping values. These are the coins that collectors fight for, the ones that send bidding wars spiraling upward at auctions. Why? Because top grades for this date are extremely scarce. The Denver Mint produced coins efficiently, but efficiency doesn't always mean perfection. Many coins from this year show weaker strikes, slight softness in Kennedy's hair, and the eagle's feathers on the reverse. Others have minor contact marks from bagging or distribution. So when grading companies identify a coin that avoids all these issues, it becomes not just a collectible, it's a numismatic prize. Another factor driving up value is the ongoing resurgence in modern coin collecting. Younger collectors entering the hobby want coins connected to American history but still fairly attainable. They love high-grade examples because they represent the best of the best. As more people compete for this limited supply, prices rise. And for the 1980 $50, we've seen this effect dramatically. But the story does not end with condition alone. Certain varieties and striking anomalies also increase value. While the 1980 $50 is not famous for large, dramatic mint errors like doubled dies or missing layers, a few specialty errors exist: off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die breaks, and lamination errors. These don't reach the same astronomical prices as the highest graded regular strikes, but they still bring premiums far above face value. Collectors love errors because they offer a peek behind the curtain into the minting process, revealing moments where the massive machinery of coin production slipped out of perfect alignment. Now, let's talk about what the average viewer can check today, right now. If you have a 1980 half dollar, here are the key things to look for. First, inspect the overall sharpness of the coin. Look at Kennedy's hair. Are the strands crisp and defined? Check the cheek and jawline. Are they free of distracting marks? Flip it over and study the eagle. Are the tail feathers well struck? Are the shield lines strong and clear? A sharp, detailed strike is the first sign of a potentially valuable coin. Next, examine the fields, the smooth, flat surfaces surrounding the portrait and design elements. These areas show flaws easily. Lightly tilt the coin under a lamp or sunlight. Do you see scratches, ticks, or bag marks? The fewer the better. Also check the luster. Coins with original mint luster appear radiant, almost as if the light dances across their surface. A dull, lifeless coin is less desirable. A coin that glows is one step closer to premium value. Finally, verify the mint mark. The Denver D should be clean, fully formed, and positioned correctly. Any abnormalities in the mint mark may indicate a rare variety worth deeper investigation. Of course, even if your coin looks beautiful, only a professional grading service can officially certify its condition. And for coins like the 1980 half dollar, certification matters because high-grade examples are so rare that buyers want confirmation before spending serious money. If you believe you have something special, submitting to a grading service could be worth the cost. The story becomes especially exciting when we consider real-world auction results. Coin collectors sometimes assume only ancient coins or precious metal rarities sell for thousands of dollars. But modern coins, when preserved in exceptional condition, can be every bit as valuable. In the case of the 1980 half dollar, the market proved this dramatically when an extraordinarily well-preserved example hit the auction block. This particular coin stood out for its extraordinary clarity. The details were razor-sharp. The surfaces shimmered. Collectors immediately recognized it as a top-tier specimen, and the bidding erupted accordingly. The price soared far beyond the usual range for modern half dollars. It surpassed the expectations of seasoned collectors, dealers, and even professional graders. And when the auctioneer's hammer finally fell, the humble 1980 Kennedy half dollar, normally a coin dismissed as modern pocket change, had achieved a truly remarkable value. It's a reminder that opportunity still exists in the world of coin collecting, even among coins that millions of people overlook. A coin minted during a time of political change, economic shift, and cultural transition suddenly became a treasure, not because it was old, not because it was silver, but because it was stunningly preserved. In a world where billions of coins pass through hands, cash registers, banks, and circulation, finding one in near-perfect condition becomes a near miracle. So what does this mean for you? It means that the hobby of coin collecting is alive and thriving. It means treasure isn't always buried in the ground, sometimes it's hiding at the bottom of a junk drawer. It means that even the coins from the 1980s, often taken for granted, can hold incredible potential if kept in pristine shape. And it means that educating yourself about what makes a coin valuable can pay off in surprising ways. As you explore your own collection, remember that value isn't just about age or rarity. It's about condition, grade, desirability, and market demand. The 1980 half dollar is the perfect example. Millions exist, but only a tiny handful meet the highest standard that collectors crave. And those few can command astonishing prices. While most 1980 half dollars will always remain common, the rarest examples transform into collectibles that represent the very peak of quality for that year and mint. And the coin that achieved the record value stands as a shining example of how modern numismatics continues to evolve. We're diving deep into the story of the 1981 Kennedy half dollar, a coin that many people see as just another piece of metal, but which can, under the right circumstances, explode in value far beyond its 50-cent face value. Whether you're a collector, a casual viewer, an investor looking for overlooked treasures, or someone who just loves a good story about turning pocket change into serious money, this script is going to take you on a detailed and engaging journey into the history, design, production, value, and incredible discovery potential of the 1981 D half dollar. To understand why this coin matters, we need to begin with the Kennedy half dollar series itself. Introduced in 1964 following the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, these half dollars quickly became one of the most beloved and recognizable modern American coins. They were minted in massive quantities, cherished by the public, and stored away as memorial keepsakes. Over time, as the composition changed and the public began using half dollars less frequently in daily transactions, these coins started drifting out of circulation. Fewer people saw them, fewer people paid attention to them, and eventually they became the kind of coin that lived mostly in rolls, collections, and the backs of old dresser drawers. The 1981 half dollar is part of what collectors call the modern clad era, meaning it was made not of silver but of a copper-nickel composition. That's one reason people often assume these later series Kennedy half dollars aren't worth looking at. But that assumption is exactly why some rare examples slip by unnoticed. The 1981 D half dollar was struck at the Denver Mint, represented by the small letter D on the obverse side just below Kennedy's neckline. In total, the Denver Mint produced many millions of these coins, over 300 million, in fact. With such a huge number in circulation, most people naturally assumed that none of them could be valuable. But coin collecting doesn't work that way. In the world of numismatics, rarity doesn't always come from low mintage numbers. Sometimes it comes from condition, sometimes from production mistakes, sometimes from overlooked variations, and sometimes from a perfect combination of all these factors. In the case of the 1981 D half dollar, the real excitement comes from examples that have survived the decades in astonishingly pristine condition. A coin that was struck sharply, stored carefully, and preserved without scratches, wear, or surface damage is an entirely different animal from the typical circulated example you might find in a handful of change. Collectors chase what are known as high-grade specimens, and the higher the grade, the more dramatically the price climbs. For most Kennedy half dollars, climbing the grading ladder isn't easy. These coins are large, prone to surface marks, and sensitive to environmental damage. Finding a truly flawless example is like finding a glass sculpture that went through a pinball machine and somehow didn't break. So what makes the top-graded 1981 D half dollar so special? To answer this, you have to imagine what the graders at professional coin grading services look for. They inspect each coin under magnification. They search for even the tiniest signs of wear on Kennedy's cheekbone, jawline, or hair. They examine the mirrored surfaces, the edges, the lettering, the fields, and the relief. For a coin to receive a nearly perfect grade, it must have sharp details, no visible contact marks, no dullness, no cleaning scratches, and no discoloration. Only a microscopic percentage of coins from any year survive in such condition. That's why the rarest of these 1981 D half dollars, the ones that have been preserved flawlessly, have soared to shocking auction prices. But condition isn't the only factor. Strike quality matters too. Some years at certain mints produce softer, less detailed strikes due to worn dies or production speed. The 1981 D is known among collectors to be somewhat inconsistent in this area. Coins struck from fresher dies, with crisp detail especially in Kennedy's hair and on the eagle's wings on the reverse, tend to be more desirable. Combine a strong strike with flawless surfaces and you get a coin that stands out dramatically from the millions of ordinary examples. Let's talk about why collectors are even more interested now than before. Over the years, the Kennedy half dollar series has gained increased appreciation from hobbyists. New collectors enter the hobby every year, and the internet age has made high-grade coins more visible through online auctions. When competition rises, so do prices. And once a coin sells for an unexpectedly high amount, it draws even more attention, creating a ripple effect. People start digging through old rolls, checking inherited collections, and submitting coins to grading services hoping they have a hidden gem. This growing attention has helped push the value of the finest 1981 D half dollars into astonishing territory. Of course, the majority of 1981 D half dollars are not valuable. Most are worth only face value if circulated, or a small premium if uncirculated but not particularly high grade. But the rarest top-graded examples are the ones that keep collectors awake at night. These extraordinary coins represent the best of the best, not just well-preserved, but nearly perfect time capsules of the moment they left the mint. The story gets even more interesting when you consider how easily such a valuable coin could go unnoticed. Many people have old coin jars or sealed rolls they haven't opened in years. Others inherit boxes of coins from relatives and have no idea what might be inside. A flawless 1981 D half dollar might look just like the next one to an untrained eye, but under professional grading, it could turn out to be a treasure worth thousands. That's why collectors emphasize the importance of examination. If you ever come across an uncirculated half dollar from the early 1980s, especially with that Denver Mint mark, it is worth taking your time to look closely. Does it have original luster? Does it show no signs of wear? Is the strike strong? Coins pulled directly from mint sets sometimes offer higher quality examples, though not always. Storage conditions matter too. A coin left in a humid environment may tone or spot. One kept in a dry, stable location may retain its original brilliance. Let's not forget about the thrill factor. There's something uniquely exciting about discovering that a 50-cent coin, one you may have dismissed at first glance, could be worth a fortune. That excitement fuels this hobby. It pushes collectors to learn more, to search more, and to appreciate the history hidden in everyday objects. And it's that same excitement that leads to incredible auction results when a truly extraordinary coin hits the spotlight. Every year, auctions feature surprise performers, modern coins that shatter expectations, break price records, and prove that you don't need centuries of history to create something valuable. The 1981 D Kennedy half dollar joined that list when one immaculate, nearly perfect example sold for an eye-opening amount that stunned even seasoned collectors. That sale helped cement the coin's reputation as one of the modern sleepers of U.S. numismatics, an ordinary coin with an extraordinary potential value. So what can we learn from this? First, that condition matters immensely. Second, that modern coins are not to be ignored. And third, that even coins minted in the hundreds of millions can contain rare outliers worth searching for. The world of coin collecting is filled with these hidden opportunities. You might overlook them if you assume only old coins or silver coins can bring high prices. But as the 1981 D half dollar proves, sometimes the real treasure is hiding in plain sight. As we wrap up this deep dive, remember that the next legendary coin might already be in someone's drawer, waiting to be discovered. Maybe it's yours. Maybe it's the coin you pick up next week in a flea market, or the one you find in a forgotten envelope. That's the beauty of collecting. You never know when you're holding history, rarity, or value far beyond what the coin's face suggests. We're diving deep, very deep, into one specific coin that has captured the attention of collectors, enthusiasts, hobbyists, and even people who have never before considered that a coin could be worth more than just 50 cents. We're talking about the United States of America 1996 Denver Mint half dollar. A coin so common in circulation, yet so full of history, mystery, and surprising value that it deserves a spotlight all on its own. This isn't just another episode about coins. This is a story about how one year, one mint, and one small detail can turn a pocket piece into a prized collectible. And if you stay with me until the very end, you'll hear exactly how much one of the rarest examples of this coin has sold for, spelled out completely in words, just as collectors whisper its value today. So settle in, relax, and let's begin this deep exploration of the 1996 D half dollar, its background, its design, its hidden secrets, and what exactly makes its value so captivating. The year 1996 was a time of transition for the United States. Technology was racing forward, the internet was beginning to weave its way into everyday life, and while many Americans were experiencing a world changing rapidly around them, the United States Mint continued its steady and familiar work, producing the coins that fueled the country's daily commerce. Among the coins minted that year was the Kennedy half dollar, carrying the iconic profile of President John F. Kennedy on the obverse. These half dollars were not produced in massive numbers like pennies or quarters. In fact, by the mid-1990s, half dollars were increasingly rare in everyday transactions. Few people used them. Fewer still bothered to examine them. Most were struck not for circulation, but for collectors, sets, and special releases. But the Denver Mint, recognized by the D Mint mark, continued to produce them. And from this mint came coins that would someday surprise the numismatic world. Let's talk first about the design, because design is not just decoration, it often holds clues, tells stories, and reveals subtleties that affect a coin's desirability. On the front, or obverse, we see a left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, sculpted with a blend of realism and elegance. His hair is detailed with soft yet sharp lines, capturing both the idealism and dynamism he represented. Above him arcs the word Liberty, with the date 1996 resting below. And just above the date, tucked neatly near Kennedy's neck, is the mint mark, D, indicating its birth at the Denver Mint. On the reverse, we find the intricately detailed presidential seal. An eagle with widespread wings grips arrows and an olive branch, symbols of strength and peace. Above the eagle floats a cluster of stars and a banner reading, E pluribus unum. Surrounding it all are the proud words, United States of America, and half dollar. This classic design remained unchanged for decades, but not every coin struck from this design is identical in perfection. And that is where things get interesting. When collectors look at a coin, they don't just see a metallic disc. They see condition, they see strike strength, they see surface preservation, they see small details that differ from one coin to the next. These variations, some nearly invisible to the casual observer, can dramatically influence the value of a coin. And this is exactly what happened with the 1996 D half dollar. Most 1996 D half dollars are common, even today. You can find them in pocket change, in coin rolls, or tucked away in old collections where they've sat untouched since the 90s. These average examples hold a sentimental and historical charm, but their monetary value remains relatively modest. However, hiding among the ordinary are a few spectacular examples, coins that were struck with exceptional precision, preserved without flaws, and graded at the highest possible levels. These are the coins that turn heads. These are the coins that create bidding wars. These are the coins that transform 50 cents into something far more impressive. You see, when grading companies examine a coin, they grade it on a scale from poor to perfect. A high-grade specimen, especially one graded near flawless, can become exceptionally rare. And rarity is the lifeblood of numismatic value. For the 1996 D Kennedy half dollar, the finest known examples are so exceptionally preserved that they belong in elite categories of collecting. Their shine, their flawless fields, their razor-sharp strikes, these qualities elevate them from ordinary to extraordinary. Collectors hunt for coins like these not only because they want to complete a series, but because owning one is like holding a piece of minting perfection, a moment in time captured in gleaming metal. But beyond condition, there is something else, something special, about the Denver Mint half dollars from this year. Some coins exhibit subtle differences in strike quality from the Denver facility, likely due to die conditions, press calibration, or even the specific batches of planchets used. These slight variances, combined with exceptional preservation, give certain 1996 D half dollars an almost legendary reputation. And that legend reached its peak when one remarkable example went up for auction. Before we reveal that final value in words, just as you requested, let's take a moment to imagine the scene. Picture a quiet auction room filled with serious collectors. People with decades of experience. People who know the difference between a common coin and a masterpiece. People who have waited years for a specimen so pristine it could redefine what the market thinks a 1996 Denver half dollar is worth. The bidding begins. Hands go up. Paddles rise and fall. The numbers climb. No one expected the price to soar as high as it did, but as the coin's rarity and flawless quality became evident, the room buzzed with excitement. This wasn't just a purchase. It was an investment, a statement, a mark of prestige. And finally, the hammer fell. The final price shocked even seasoned experts. Now, before we unveil that amount in full, spelled out words, let's reflect on what makes this coin so astounding. It's a reminder that value doesn't always come from age. Some coins from the 1800s are worth less than a pristine example from the 1990s. It's not always about precious metals either. Half dollars from 1996 contain no silver, yet they can soar in value because of rarity and condition and collector demand. It's a lesson that everyday items we take for granted, coins sitting unnoticed in change jars or old drawers, can hold unexpected treasures. Today, that one special example can stun collectors into silence. In this video, we're taking a deep dive into one of the most surprising modern-era finds in American numismatics, the United States of America 2000D Mint Mark half-dollar coin. Settle in, because this isn't just a quick price list or a 2-minute appraisal. This is a long, rich, storytelling-style exploration built for coin lovers, history fans, treasure hunters, and curiosity-driven viewers alike. We're going to journey through design secrets, minting quirks, collector obsessions, high-grade rarities, and finally, right at the end, the breathtaking price one of these coins once reached. And yes, I'll reveal that value written out fully in words, exactly as you requested. Let's begin. A new chapter begins. The modern half-dollar. Most people overlook the year 2000 feels recent enough that many of us remember where we were, what we were doing, and the world we lived in. But in the world of coins, it was a very different time. The half-dollar, once a powerhouse in American commerce, had long since faded from everyday circulation. Cashiers rarely handed them out. Customers rarely asked for them. And most of the Kennedy half-dollars minted after the 1970s went straight into storage vaults or collector sets. So when the Denver Mint released the 2000D Kennedy half-dollar, almost nobody paid attention. To the general public, it was just another half-dollar. But to modern collectors today, it's a coin that contains one of the most unexpected value stories of the 21st century. The story behind the 2000D. Why a common coin became an uncommon star, you might ask. How can a coin minted in the millions suddenly become desirable? The answer lives in a combination of history, preservation, rarity and high grade, and a pinch of luck. The Denver Mint produced millions of these coins, but almost all of them were handled just like regular money. Meaning, they were stored in bags, not protective containers. They were shipped in bulk, causing scratches, contact marks, and dents. Many were released into circulation, where they picked up even more wear. That means collectors today hunting for a truly pristine, high-grade example can search through thousands of coins and still never find one that meets the quality expectations of top grading services. This is what transforms a common coin into something extraordinary. A closer look. The design that carries a legacy. Every 2000D half-dollar is a tribute to President John F. Kennedy. Designed by Gilroy Roberts and Frank Gasparo, the coin features the bold, instantly recognizable profile of Kennedy on the obverse, the majestic eagle with shield on the reverse, echoing the presidential seal, sharp lettering, deep reliefs, and a familiar yet timeless appearance. When collectors search for valuable examples, it's not just the design they admire, it's the condition in which that design is preserved. They want sharp lines, glowing surfaces, untouched fields, and that shimmering mint luster that looks almost alive under the light. In short, they want perfection, and perfection is what makes prices skyrocket. The importance of the mint mark, what that little d really means. The tiny letter D, tucked subtly into the coin, identifies the Denver Mint as its birthplace. This is crucial. While both the Philadelphia and Denver Mints struck Kennedy halves in 2000, it's the 2000D that has proven especially difficult to find in flawless condition. Why? Denver Mint coins of the late 1990s and early 2000s often show stronger contact marks. Many 2000D coins were not reserved for collectors but released into general circulation. Minting equipment of that era sometimes left minor imperfections that reduced grade quality. All of this means that among millions of minted coins, only a tiny handful ever approached the highest grades recognized by collectors. The collector's challenge. Why high-grade examples are so rare. Imagine walking into a coin shop, buying a whole roll of uncirculated 2000D half-dollars, and thinking, surely one of these will be perfect. But when collectors submit them for grading, the results are usually disappointing. They see small scratches from transport, tiny hits from coin-to-coin contact, loss of luster from improper storage, minute imperfections that grading experts instantly notice a coin must be nearly flawless to achieve the highest ratings. And that microscopic level of perfection? It's unbelievably rare. This is why a top-graded 2000D can explode in value. The breakout moment. When collectors finally noticed the 2000D after years, nobody realized the 2000D could be valuable. They sat in drawers, bags, desk trays, and banking back stock unnoticed. Then, as the 2010s rolled in, grading companies started receiving more submissions. And something surprising emerged. High-grade 2000D Kennedy half-dollars were far rarer than expected. Collectors jumped in. Prices rose. Competition increased. Eventually, as the supply of top-grade coins proved extremely small, the demand pushed values to levels no one saw coming. The auction floor, where ordinary turns legendary. This is where the magic of numismatics comes alive. On an auction floor, a coin doesn't just sit quietly. It tells a story. A story of survival. A story of rarity. A story of collectors who understand exactly how hard it is to find something so pristine. The bidding begins slowly. Voices rise. Collectors lean forward with anticipation. And then, when a coin reaches a nearly impossible grade, the kind that only a handful in the world can match, the bidding becomes a battle. A battle of passion, pride, and the unbreakable desire to own what almost nobody else can. That's exactly what happened with the 2000D.1 breathtaking example reached a price that left the numismatic world buzzing. Why people still search for them today, even now, collectors, both beginners and experts, are still hunting for these coins in. Finding such a coin is like finding treasure in plain sight. And that possibility keeps the excitement alive. Your chance. Could you own one? Here's the fun part. This coin isn't like a 1913 Liberty nickel or an 1804 silver dollar. Those are almost impossible to encounter. But a 2000D half-dollar? There's a real chance you might already own one. Check your old change. Look through inherited collections. Open that forgotten drawer. Search that unopened roll you bought years ago. You never know, your coin could be a sleeper worth serious money. The collector's dream, a modern rarity born from an everyday coin. Coins like the 2000D prove that not all treasures are ancient. Some are recent. Some are modern. And some are sitting unnoticed until the spotlight reveals them. This coin's story reminds us that numismatics is not just about age, it's about condition, rarity, survival, and the quiet mysteries of the minting process. And when all those pieces come together, something astonishing happens.